Hello, welcome to Noetry. Thank you for joining me. Please get yourself something to drink, perhaps. Get comfortable. And I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm going to begin with a fable from the Tewa, one of the Pueblo peoples. This is the story of Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden. Long ago, in the ancient home of the San Juan people, in a village whose ruins can be seen across the river from present-day San Juan, lived two magically gifted young people. The youth was called Deer Hunter because even as a boy, he was the only one who never returned empty-handed from the hunt. The girl, whose name was White Corn Maiden, made the finest pottery and embroidered clothing with most beautiful designs of any woman in the village. These two were the handsomest couple in the village, and it was no surprise to their parents that they always sought one another's company. Seeing that they were favored by the gods, the villagers assumed that they were destined to marry. And in time they did, and contrary to their elders' expectations, they began to spend even more time with one another. White Corn Maiden began to ignore her pottery making and embroidery, while Deer Hunter gave up hunting, at a time when he could have saved many of his people from hunger. They even began to forget their religious obligations. At the request of the pair's worried parents, the tribal elders called a council. This young couple was ignoring all the traditions by which the tribe had lived and prospered, and the people feared that angry gods might bring famine, flood, sickness, or some other disaster upon the village. But Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden ignored the council's pleas and drew closer together, swearing that nothing would ever part them. A sense of doom pervaded the village, even though it was late spring and all nature had unfolded in new life. Then suddenly White Corn Maiden became ill, and within 3 days she died. Deer Hunter's grief had no bounds. He refused to speak or eat, preferring to keep watch beside his wife's body until she was buried early the next day. For 4 days after death, every soul wanders in and around its village and seeks forgiveness from those whom it may have wronged in life. It is a time of unease for the living, since the soul may appear in the form of a wind, a disembodied voice, a dream, or even in human shape. To prevent such a visitation, the villagers go to the dead person before burial and utter a soft prayer of forgiveness. And on the 4th day after death, the relatives gather to perform a ceremony releasing the soul into the spirit world, from which it will never return. But Deer Hunter was unable to accept his wife's death. Knowing that he might see her during the 4-day interlude, he began to wander around the edge of the village. Soon he drifted farther out into the fields, and it was here at sundown on the 4th day, even while his relatives were gathering for the ceremony of release, that he spotted a small fire near a clump of bushes. Deer Hunter drew closer and found his wife, as beautiful as she was in life and dressed in all her finery, combing her long hair with a cactus brush in preparation for the last journey. He fell weeping at her feet, imploring her not to leave, but to return with him to the village before the releasing rite was consummated. White Corn Maiden begged her husband to let her go, because she no longer belonged to the world of the living. Her return would anger the spirits, she said, and anyhow, soon she would no longer be beautiful, and Deer Hunter would shun her. He brushed her pleas aside by pledging his undying love and promising that he would let nothing part them. Eventually she relented, saying that she would hold him to his promise. They entered the village just as their relatives were marching to the shrine with the food offering that would release the soul of White Corn Maiden. They were horrified when they saw her, and again they and the village elders begged Deer Hunter to let her go. He ignored them, and an air of grim expectancy settled over the village. The couple returned to their home, but before many days had passed, Deer Hunter noticed that his wife was beginning to have an unpleasant odor. Then he saw that her beautiful face had grown ashen and her skin dry. At first, he only turned his back on her as they slept. Later, he began to sit up on the roof all night, but White Corn Maiden always joined him. In time, the villagers became used to the sight of Deer Hunter racing among the houses and through the fields with White Corn Maiden, now not much more than skin and bones, in hot pursuit. Things continued in this way, until one misty morning a tall and imposing figure appeared in the small dance court at the center of the village. He was dressed in spotless white buckskin robes and carried the biggest bow anyone had ever seen. On his back was slung a great quiver with the 2 largest arrows anyone had ever seen. He remained standing at the center of the village and called, in a voice that carried into every home, for Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden. Such was its authority that the couple stepped forward meekly and stood facing him. The awe-inspiring figure told the couple that he had been sent from the spirit world because they, Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden, had violated their people's traditions and angered the spirits, that because they had been so selfish, they had brought grief and near disaster to the village. Since you insist on being together, he said, you shall have your wish. You will chase one another forever across the sky, as visible reminders that your people must live according to tradition if they are to survive. With this, he set Deer Hunter on one arrow and shot him low into the western sky. Putting White Corn Maiden on the other, he placed her just behind her husband. That evening, the villagers saw 2 new stars in the west. The first, large and very bright, began to move east across the heavens. The second, a smaller, flickering star, followed close behind. So it is to this day, according to the Tewa. The brighter one is Deer Hunter, placed there in the prime of his life. The dimmer star is White Corn Maiden, set there after she had died. Yet she will forever chase her husband across the heavens. And now we will read The Definition of Love from the Devil's Dictionary by Ambrose Bierce. Love, noun. A temporary insanity curable by marriage, or by removal of the patient from the influences under which he incurred the disorder. This disease, like caries and many other ailments, is prevalent only among civilized races living under artificial conditions. Barbarous nations breathing pure air and eating simple food enjoy immunity from its ravages. It is sometimes fatal, but more frequently to the physician than to the patient. Oh, Egret has some love. She loves getting in the way. And now, a work by Pablo Neruda, first in my halting Spanish, and then the translation by Ilan Stavans. Oda al amor. Amor, hagamos cuentos. A mi edad no es posible engañar o engañarnos. Fui ladrón de caminos, tal vez, no me arrepiento. Un minuto profundo, una magnolia rota por mis dientes y la luz de la luna celestina. Muy bien, pero el balance. La soledad mantuvo su red entretejida de fríos jazmineros, y entonces la que llegó a mis brazos fue la reina rosada de las islas. Amor, con una gota, aunque caiga durante toda y toda la nocturna primavera, o se forma el océano y me quede desnudo, solitario, esperando. Pero he aquí que aquella que pasó por mis brazos como una ola, aquella que sola fue un sabor de fruta vespertina, de pronto parpadeó como estrella, ardió como paloma, y la encontré en mi piel desenlazándose como la cabellera de una hoguera. Amor, desde aquel día todo fue más sencillo. Obedecí las órdenes que mi olvidado corazón me daba y apreté su cintura y reclamé su boca con todo el poderío de mis besos. Como un rey que arrebata con un ejército desesperado una pequeña torre donde crece la azucena salvaje de su infancia. Por eso, amor, yo creo que enmarañado y duro puede ser tu camino, pero que vuelves de tu carcería y cuando enciendes otra vez el fuego, como el pan en la mesa. Así, con sencillez, debe estar lo que amamos. Amor, eso me diste, cuando por vez primera ella llegó a mis brazos paso como las aguas en una despeñada primavera. Hoy la recojo. Son angostas mis manos y pequeñas las cuencas de mis ojos para que ellas reciban su tesoro, la cascada de interminable luz, el hilo de oro, el pan de su fragancia, que sos sencillamente amor mi vida. Love, let's do the numbers. At my age, it isn't possible to deceive or deceive ourselves. I was a highway thief, perhaps. I don't regret it. A deep minute, a magnolia broken by my teeth in the light of the moon's go-between. Very well, but the balance? Solitude kept its net with interwoven cold jasmine, and then the one coming to my arms was the pink-colored queen of the islands. Love, with a drop, even if it falls during all and all the nocturnal spring, the ocean is not formed, and I remain naked, desolate, waiting. But I announced the one passing through my arms like a wave, she who was just a taste of a twilight fruit, suddenly fluttered like a star, sparkled fire like a dove, and I found her in my skin, unraveling like a blaze of hair. Love, since that day everything was simple. I obeyed the orders my forgotten heart was giving, and held her by the waist and reclaimed her mouth with all the power of my kisses, like a king ravishing a small tower where the savage white lily of its childhood grows with a desperate army. That's why, love, I trust your path might be hard and twisted, because you return from your hunt, and when you light the fire again, like bread on the table, right there, simply, must be what we love. Love, you gave me that. When she reached my arms for the first time, she passed on like water over the precipice of spring. Today, I take all this back. My hands are narrow, and small the cavities of my eyes. So they receive their treasure, the cascade of unending light, the thread of gold, the bread of their fragrance are simply love, my life. And now a work in Proverbs, chapter 31, beginning at verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant's ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth a field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed in scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen, and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up, and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. And now a work by Francis Quarles from the Song of Songs. My beloved is mine, and I am his. Even like two little bank-dividing brooks that wash the pebbles with their wanton streams, and having ranged and searched 1,000 nooks, meet both at length in silver-breasted Thames, wherein a greater current they conjoin, so I my best beloved's am, so he is mine. Even so we met, and after long pursuit, even so we joined. We both became entire. No need for either to renew a suit, for I was flax, and he was flames of fire. Our firm united souls did more than twine, so I my best beloved's am, so he is mine. Nor time, nor place, nor chance, nor death can bow my least desires unto the least remove. He's firmly mine by oath, I his by vow. He's mine by faith, and I am him by love. He's mine by water, I am his by wine. Thus I my best beloved's am, thus he is mine. He is my altar, I his holy place. I am his guest, and he my living food. I'm his by penitence, he mine by grace. I'm his by purchase, he is mine by blood. He's my supporting elm, and I his vine. Thus I my best beloved's am, thus he is mine. He gives me wealth, I give him all my vows. I give him songs, he gives me length of days. With wreaths of grace he crowns my conquering brows, and I his temples with a crown of praise, which he accepts as everlasting sign that I my best beloved's am, that he is mine. And now a work from Ovid, reworked by Christopher Marlowe, from the Elegies. This is Corinnae Concubitus. In summer's heat and mid-time of the day, to rest my limbs upon a bed I lay. One window shut, the other open stood, which gave such light as twinkles in a wood, like twilight glimpse at setting of the sun, or night being past and yet not day begun. Such light to shamefast maidens must be shown, where they may sport and seem to be unknown. Then came Corinnae in a long loose gown, her white neck hid with tresses hanging down, resembling fair Semiramis going to bed, or Lais of 1,000 wooers sped. I snatched her gown, being thin the harm was small, yet strived she to be covered therewithal, and striving thus as one that would be cast, betrayed herself, and yielded at the last. Stark naked as she stood before mine eye, not one wen in her body I could spy. What arms and shoulders did I touch and see, how apt her breasts were to be pressed by me. How smooth a belly under waist I saw, how large a leg, and what a lusty thigh. To leave the rest, all liked me passing well. I clinged her naked body, down she fell. Judge you the rest. Being tired, she bade me kiss. Jove, send me more such afternoons as this. And now, from Romeo and Juliet, Act 3, Scene 2. Juliet thus. Excuse me. Gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds, towards Phoebus' lodging. Such a wagoner as Phaeton would whip you to the west, and bring in cloudy night immediately. Spread thy close curtain, love-performing night, that rude day's eyes may wink, and Romeo leap to these arms untalked of and unseen. Lovers can see to do their amorous rites by their own beauties, or if love be blind, it best agrees with night. Come, civil knight, thou sober-suited matron, all in black, and learn me how to lose a winning match, played for a pair of stainless maidenhoods. Hood my unmanned blood, baiting in my cheeks, with thy black mantle, till strange love grown bold, think true love acted simple modesty. Come night, come Romeo, come thou day in night, for thou wilt lie upon the wings of night, whither than new snow on a raven's back. Come, gentle night, come, loving black-browed night, give me my Romeo, and when he shall die, take him, and cut him out in little stars, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night, and pay no worship to the garish sun. Oh, I have bought the mansion of a love, but not possessed it, and, though I am sold, not yet enjoyed. So tedious is this day, as is the night before some festival to an impatient child that hath new robes, and may not wear them. Oh, here comes my nurse. She brings news, and every tongue that speaks but Romeo's name speaks heavenly eloquence. And now a few of the bard's sonnets, beginning with 65. Since brass nor stone nor earth nor boundless sea but sad mortality o'ersways their power, how with this rage shall beauty hold a plea whose action is no stronger than a flower? Oh, how shall summer's honey Oh, how shall summer's honey breath hold out against the wrackful siege of battering days, when rocks impregnable are not so stout, nor gates of steel so strong, but time decays? O fearful meditation, where, alack, shall time's best jewel from time's chest lie hid? Or what strong hand can hold his swift foot back, or who his spoil of beauty can forbid? O none, unless this miracle have might, that in black ink my love may still shine bright. And now Sonnet 66, one of my favorites. Tired with all these for restful death I cry, as to behold desert a beggar born, and needing nothing trimmed in jollity, and purest faith unhappily forsworn, and gilded honor shamefully misplaced, and maiden virtue rudely strumpeted, and right perfection wrongfully disgraced, and strength by limping sway disabled, and art made tongue-tied by authority, and folly, doctor-like, controlling skill, and simple truth miscalled simplicity, and captive good attending captain ill. Tired with all these, from these would I be gone, save that, to die, I leave my love alone. And now one of the best ones, Sonnet 130. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hair be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks, and in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. And now a few sonnets by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, beginning with number 11 from Sonnets from the Portugese. And therefore if to love can be desert, and therefore if to love can be desert, I am not all unworthy, cheeks as pale as these you see, and trembling knees that fail to bear the burden of a heavy heart. This weary minstrel life that once was girt to climb a Norris, and can scarce avail, to pipe now 'gainst the valley nightingale a melancholy music. Why advert to these things, O beloved? It is plain I am not of thy worth, nor for thy place. And yet, because I love thee, I obtain from that same love this vindicating grace. to live on still in love, and yet in vain, to bless thee, yet renounce thee to thy face. And now, number 12, from Sonnets from the Portuguese. Indeed, this very love, which is my boast, and which, when rising up from breast to brow, doth crown me with a ruby large enow, to draw men's eyes and prove the inner cost. This love even, all my worth, to the uttermost, I should not love withal, unless that thou hadst set me an example, shown me how, when first thine earnest eyes with mine were crossed, and love called love. And thus I cannot speak of love even as a good thing of my own. Thy soul hath snatched up mine all faint and weak, and placed it by thee on a golden throne. And that I love, O soul, we must be meek, is by thee only, whom I love alone. Pardon me. 13. And wilt thou have me passion, and wilt thou have me fashion into speech the love I bear thee, finding words enough, and hold the torch out while the winds are rough, between our faces to cast light on each? I drop it at thy feet. I cannot teach my hand to hold my spirit so far off from myself, me, that I should bring thee proof in words of love hid in me out of reach. Nay, let the silence of my womanhood commend my woman love to thy belief, seeing that I stand unwon, however wooed, and rend the garment of my life in brief, by a most dauntless, voiceless fortitude, lest one touch of this heart convey its grief. 14. If thou must love me, let it be for naught except for love's sake only. Do not say, I love her for her smile, her look, her way of speaking gently, for a trick of thought that falls in well with mine, and certes brought a sense of pleasant ease on such a day. For these things in themselves, beloved, may be changed, or change for thee, and love, so wrought, may be unwrought so. Neither love me for thine own dear pities wiping my cheeks dry. A creature might forget to weep, who bore thy comfort long, and lose thy love thereby. But love me for love's sake, that evermore thou mayest love on, through love's eternity. And now, 2 by Petrarch from Canzoniere. The first, number 17. A bitter rain of tears pours down my face, blowing with a wind of anguished sighs, whenever my eyes turn to look at you, for whom, alone, I am divided from mankind. It is true that your sweet and soothing smile does calm the ardor of all my desires, and rescues me from burning martyrdom, as long as I keep my gaze fixed in you. But then my spirits suddenly turn cold when I see, as you leave, those fated stars turning their gentle motion from my sight. Let loose, at last, by those 2 amorous keys, the soul deserts the heart to follow you, and deep in thought from you it is uprooted. And number 35 from Canzoniere. Alone and deep in thought I measure out the most deserted fields with slow, dark steps, with eyes intent to flee whatever sign of human footprint left within the sand. I find no other shield for my protection against the knowing glances of mankind, for in my bearing all bereft of joy, one sees from outside how I burn within. So now, I think, only the plains and mountains, the rivers and the forests know the kind of life I lead, and one concealed from all. And still, I never seem to find a path too harsh, too wild for love to always join me and to speak to me, and I to him. And now, one by Gwendolyn Brooks. Sonnet 1. He came in silvern armor trimmed with black, a lover come from legends long ago, with silver spurs and silken plumes ablow, and flashing sword caught fast and buckled back in a cavern sheath of tamarack. He came with footsteps beautifully slow, and spoke in voice meticulously low. He came, and romance followed in his track. I did not ask his name, I thought him love. I did not care to see his hidden face. All life seemed born in my intaken breath. All thought seemed flown like some forgotten dove. He bent to kiss and raised his visor's lace. All eager-lipped I kissed the mouth of death. And now, from Robert Burns, A Red, Red Rose. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like a melody that's sweetly played in tune. So fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I. And I will love thee still, my dear, till all the seas gang dry. Till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun. I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. And fare thee weel, my only love, and fare thee weel a while. And I will come again, my love, though it were 10,000 mile. And now one I wrote. What shall we have for dinner, now that we're full of lunch? What's life without you in her, a croûte without the crunch? Where might we found our fortunes, and best bestow our boon, or when compound our portions beneath the quiet moon? At times in life things harden, as winter winds descry. How then to plant a garden to join the seasons by? For will or no I pledge my troth to thee, and pray you wish to while your time with me. And now one by Edmund Spenser from Amoretti. Sorry, I must have a bug in my throat. It's covering for me. My love is like to ice and I to fire, and comes it then that this, her cold so great, is not dissolved through my so hot desire, but harder grows the more I her entreat? Or how comes it that my exceeding heat is not allayed by her heart frozen cold, but that I burn much more in boiling sweat, and feel my flames augmented manifold? What more miraculous thing may be told, that fire, which all things melt, should harden ice, and ice, which is congealed with senseless cold, should kindle fire by wonderful device. Such is the power of love in gentle mind, that it can alter all the course of kind. And now, a poem by Robert Herrick, The Bracelet to Julia. Why I tie about thy wrist, Julia, this my silken twist, for what other reason is't, but to show thee how in part thou my pretty captive art, but thy bondslave is my heart. 'Tis but silk that bindeth thee, snap the thread and thou art free, but 'tis otherwise with me. I am bound, and fast bound so, that from thee I cannot go. If I could, I would not go. And now one by Alfred Tennyson, The Miller's Daughter. It is the miller's daughter, and she is grown so dear, that I would be the jewel that trembles at her ear. For hid in ringlets, day and night, I'd touch her neck so warm and white, and I would be the girdle about her dainty, dainty waist, and her heart would beat against me in sorrow and in rest, and I should know if it beat right, I'd clasp it round so close and tight, and I would be the necklace, and all day long to fall and rise upon her balmy bosom with her laughter or her sighs, and I would lie so light, I scarce should be unclasped at night. Now one by John Clare. Titled Secret Love. I hid my love when young till I couldn't bear the buzzing of a fly. I hid my love to my despite till I could not bear to look at light. I dare not gaze upon her face, but left her memory in each place. Whene'er I saw a wild flower lie, I kissed and bade my love goodbye. I met her in the greenest dells, where dewdrops pearl the wood bluebells. The lost breeze kissed her bright blue eye, the bee kissed and went singing by. A gold chain round her neck so fair, as secret as the bee's song, the wild bee's song, and she lay there all summer long. I hid my love in field and town, till even the breeze would knock me down. The bees seemed singing ballads o'er, the fly's bass turned a lion's roar, and even silence found a tongue to haunt me all the summer long. The riddle nature could not prove was nothing else but secret love. And now a poem by Percy Bysshe Shelley, Love's Philosophy. The fountains mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with a sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single. All things by a law divine in one spirit meet and mingle. Why not I with thine? See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasps the earth, and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What is all this sweet work worth, if thou kiss not me? And now one by his lovely wife, Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. From Stanzas. Oh, come to me in dreams, my love, I will not ask a dearer bliss. Come with the starry beams, my love, and press mine eyelids with thy kiss. 'Twas thus, as ancient fables tell, love visited a Grecian maid, till she disturbed the sacred spell, and woke to find her hopes betrayed. But gentle sleep shall veil my sight, and Psyche's lamp shall darkling be, when, in the visions of the night, thou dost renew thy vows to me. Then come to me in dreams, my love, I will not ask a dearer bliss. Come with the starry beams, my love, and press mine eyelids with a kiss. And now, one of my favorite poets, and one of my favorite of her poems, Edna St. Vincent Millay, this titled, Pity Me Not. Pity me not, because the light of day at close of day no longer walks the sky. Pity me not for beauties passed away from field and thicket as the year goes by. Pity me not the waning of the moon, nor that the ebbing tide goes out to sea, nor that a man's desire is hushed so soon, and you no longer look with love on me. This have I known always. Love is no more than the wide blossom which the wind assails, than the great tide that treads the shifting shore, strewing fresh wreckage gathered in the gales. Pity me that the heart is slow to learn what the swift mind beholds at every turn. And now, a poem by Christina Rossetti called When I Am Dead, My Dearest. When I am dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for me. Plant thou no roses at my head, nor shady cypress tree. Be the green grass above me with the showers and dewdrops wet. And if thou wilt, remember, and if thou wilt, forget. I shall not see the shadows, I shall not feel the rain, I shall not hear the nightingale sing on, as if in pain, and dreaming through the twilight that doth not rise nor set, haply I may remember, and haply may forget. And now a poem by Harold Monroe, titled Solitude. When you have tidied all things for the night, and while your thoughts are fading to their sleep, you'll pause a moment in the late firelight, too sorrowful to weep. The large and gentle furniture has stood in sympathetic silence all the day, with that old kindness of domestic wood. Nevertheless, the haunted room will say, someone must be away. The little dog rolls over half awake, stretches his paws, yawns, looking up at you, wags his tail very slightly for your sake, that you may feel he is unhappy too. A distant engine whistles, or the floor creaks, or the wandering night wind bangs a door. Silence is scattered like a broken glass. The minutes prick their ears and run about, then one by one subside again and pass sedately in, monotonously out. You bend your head and wipe away a tear. Solitude walks one heavy step more near. And now, a poem by a Louisiana poet who I just began reading, Jack Heflin. Called The Map. What was it we left behind? There were other rooms from whose windows we watched barefoot children playing in the rain. There was a prelude of glances to which we had turned, a dusty vase on the mantel, no bouquet. But I see now that I was right to have followed you, that your beauty was merely a light we reached for to enter this room, where petals were spilling over the chair, and the end tables and the bed neatly made. I know what we become. I know a sunflower from a rug of ashes. Before sleep, your face darkens in the garden, where joy has grown and never grows old. And now a poem by Neil Hilburn. Called Enabling, a Love Song for and after my grandmother. It's called Kissing the Bottle because of the way your lips move. I seem to recall that your lips moved like that on me once, but I doubt either of us would remember now. Now, after the years and what I'm sure must be several houses full of glass, I bet you could fill all the places we've ever lived together with all the bottles we've emptied together. Bob, I know you never much liked drink. I think you only drank so I didn't feel lonely, so you didn't feel lonely. I'm lonely now, Bob. How's heaven, Bob? You must have gone to heaven. You spent too much time taking care of me to do anything bad. Our children have to give me the wine now. Our children, who you always kissed goodnight with your mouth or whatever implements were closer at hand. Bob, this Christmas, all the other words were gone, but I could still say your name. Everyone noticed, but no one would tell me where you'd gone. I knew where you'd gone, but I still expected you to walk in the door with Spotty, who I know is also dead. But there are too many deaths now to use them to accurately measure time. Bob, I looked into Marilyn's eyes and asked a question. Every word was your name. Even if I could have said anything else, I wouldn't. She wiped the mashed potatoes off my chin and said, I know. We miss him too. Bob, that's it. I miss you. I'd forgotten what it was like. Since you came home from the ocean, I'd never not been near you. I may have been sad, but never lonely. My liver should have taken me years ago. I should have died before you. It's your name I want on my lips when I get there. I need to ask everyone I meet where you've gone. And now, one by Louise Glick from her book Averno. A Myth of Devotion. When Hades decided he loved this girl, he built for her a duplicate of Earth, everything the same down to the meadow, but with a bed added. Everything the same, including sunlight, because it would be hard on a young girl to go so quickly from bright light to utter darkness. Gradually, he thought, he'd introduce the night. First as the shadows of fluttering leaves, then moon, then stars, then no moon, no stars. Let Persephone get used to it slowly. In the end, he thought, she'd find it comforting. A replica of Earth, except there was love here. Doesn't everyone want love? He waited many years, building a world, watching Persephone in the meadow. Persephone, a smeller, a taster. If you have one appetite, he thought, you have them all. Doesn't everyone want to feel in the night the beloved body, compass, pole star, to hear the quiet breathing that says, I am alive? That also means you are alive, because you hear me. You are here with me. And when one turns, the other turns. That's what he felt, the Lord of Darkness, looking at the world he had constructed for Persephone. It never crossed his mind that there'd be no more smelling here, certainly no more eating. Guilt, terror, the fear of love, these things he couldn't imagine. No lover ever imagines them. He dreams. He wonders what to call this place. First he thinks, the new hell. Then, the garden. In the end, he decides to name it Persephone's girlhood. A soft light rising above the level meadow behind the bed. He takes her in his arms. He wants to say, I love you. Nothing can hurt you. But he thinks this is a lie. So he says in the end, you're dead. Nothing can hurt you. Which seems to him a more promising beginning, more true. And finally, a poem by another of my favorite poets, John Keats. This is, I stood tiptoe upon a little hill. I stood tiptoe upon a little hill. The air was cooling and so very still that the sweet buds which with a modest pride pulled droopingly in slanting curve aside their scanty leaved and finely tapering stems had not yet lost those starry diadems caught from the early sobbing of the morn. The clouds were pure and white as flocks new shorn, and fresh from the clear brook. Sweetly they slept on the blue fields of heaven, and then there crept a little noiseless noise among the leaves, born of the very sigh that silence heaves, for not the faintest motion could be seen of all the shades that slanted o'er the green. There was wide wandering for the greediest eye to peer about upon variety, far round the horizon's crystal air to skim, and trace the dwindled edges of its brim, to picture out the quaint and curious bending of a fresh woodland alley never ending, or by the bowery clefts and leafy shelves, guess where the jaunty streams refresh themselves. I gazed a while, and felt as light and free as though the fanning wings of Mercury had played upon my heels. I was light-hearted, and many pleasures to my vision started. So I straightway began to pluck a posy of luxuries bright, milky, soft, and rosy. A bush of mayflowers with the bees about them. Ah, sure, no tasteful nook would be without them. And let a lush laburnum oversweep them, and let long grass round the roots to keep them, moist, cool, and green, and shade the violets, that they may bind the moss in leafy nets. A filbert hedge with wild briar overtwined, and clumps of woodbine taking the soft wind upon their summer thrones. There too should be the frequent checker of a youngling tree, that with a score of light green brethren shoots from the quaint mossiness of aged roots, round which is heard a spring-head of clear waters, babbling so wildly of its lovely daughters, the spreading bluebells, it may haply mourn that such fair clusters should be rudely torn from their fresh beds, and scattered thoughtlessly by infant hands, left on a path to die. Open afresh your round of starry folds, ye ardent marigolds. Dry up the moisture from the golden lids, for great Apollo bids that in these days your praises should be sung on many harps which he has lately strung. And when again your dewiness he kisses, tell him, I have you in my world of blisses. So haply when I rove in some far vale, his mighty voice may come upon the gale. Here are sweet peas, on tiptoe for a flight, with wings of gentle flush or delicate white, and taper fingers catching at all things, to bind them all about with tiny rings. Linger a while upon some bending planks that lean against a streamlet's rushy banks, and watch intently nature's gentle doings. They will be found softer than ring-doves' cooings. How silent comes the water round the bend, not the minutest whisper does it send to the o'erhanging sallows. Blades of grass slowly across the checkers shadows pass. Why, you might read 2 sonnets ere they reach to where the hurrying freshnesses I preach, a natural sermon o'er their pebbly beds, where swarms of minnows show their little heads, staying their wavy bodies 'gainst the streams, to taste the luxury of sunny beams tempered with coolness. How they ever wrestle with their own sweet delight, and ever nestle their silver bellies on the pebbly sand. If you but scantily hold out the hand, that very instant not one will remain, but turn your eye, and there they are again. The ripples seem right glad to reach those cresses, and cool themselves among the emerald tresses. The while they cool themselves, they freshness give, and moisture, that the bowery green may live. So keeping up an interchange of favors, like good men in the truth of their behaviors, sometimes goldfinches one by one will drop from low-hung branches. Little space they stop, but sip and twitter, and their feathers sleek, then off at once, as in a wanton freak, or perhaps to show their black and golden wings, pausing upon their yellow flutterings. Were I in such a place, I sure should pray that naught less sweet might call my thoughts away than the soft rustle of a maiden's gown, fanning away the dandelion's down, than the light music of her nimble toes patting against the sorrel as she goes. How she would start and blush thus to be caught, playing in all her innocence of thought. Oh, let me lead her gently o'er the brook, watch her half-smiling lips and downward look. Oh, let me for one moment touch her wrist, let me one moment to her breathing list, and as she leaves me, may she often turn her fair eyes looking through her locks auburn. What next? A tuft of evening primroses, o'er which the mind may hover till it dozes, or which it well might take a pleasant sleep, but that 'tis ever startled by the leap of buds into the ripe flowers, or by flitting of diverse moths that aye their rest are quitting, or by the moon lifting her silver rim above a cloud, and with a gradual swim coming into the blue with all her light. O maker of sweet poets, dear delight of this fair world and all its gentle livers, spangler of clouds, halo of crystal rivers, mingler of leaves and dew and tumbling streams, closer of lovely eyes to lovely dreams, lover of loneliness and wandering, of upcast eye and tender pondering. Thee must I praise above all other glories that smile us on to tell delightful stories. For what has made the sage or poet write but the fair paradise of nature's light? In the calm grandeur of a sober line we see the waving of the mountain pine. And when a tale is beautifully stayed, we feel the safety of a hawthorn glade. When it is moving on luxurious wings, the soul is lost in pleasant smotherings. Fair dewy roses brush against our faces, and flowering laurels spring from diamond vases. O'erhead we see the jasmine and sweet briar, and bloomy grapes laughing from green attire, while at our feet the voice of crystal bubbles charm us at once away from all our troubles, so that we feel uplifted from the world, walking upon the white clouds wreathed and curled. So felt he who first told how Psyche went on the smooth wind to realms of wonderment. What Psyche felt, and love, when their full lips first touched, what amorous and fondling nips they gave each other's cheeks with all their sighs, and how they kissed each other's tremulous eyes. The silver lamp, the ravishment, the wonder, the darkness, loneliness, the fearful thunder, their woes gone by, and both to heaven upflown, to bow for gratitude before Jove's throne. So did he feel, who pulled the boughs aside, that we might look into a forest wide, to catch a glimpse of fauns and dryads, coming with softest rustle through the trees, and garlands woven of flowers wild and sweet, upheld of ivory wrists or sporting feet, telling us how fair, trembling Syrinx fled Arcadian Pan with such a fearful dread. Poor nymph, poor Pan, how did he weep to find naught but a lovely sighing of the wind along the reedy stream, a half-hearted strain, a full sweet desolation, balmy pain. What first inspired a bard to sing of old, Narcissus pining o'er the untainted spring? In some delicious ramble he had found a little space, with boughs all woven round, and in the midst of all a clearer pool than e'er reflected in its pleasant cool, the blue sky here and there, serenely peeping through tendril wreaths fantastically creeping, and on the bank a lonely flower he spied, a meek and forlorn flower, with naught of pride, drooping its beauty o'er the watery clearness, to woo its own sad image into nearness. Deaf to light Zephyrus, it would not move, but still would seem to droop, to pine, to love. So while the poet stood in this sweet spot, some fainter gleamings o'er his fancy shot, nor was it long ere he had told the tale of young Narcissus and sad Echo's bale. Where we had been, from those warm head outflew that sweetest of all songs that ever knew, that eye refreshing pure deliciousness, coming ever to bless the wanderer by moonlight, to him bringing shapes from the invisible world, unearthly singing, from out the middle air, from flowery nests, and from the pillowy silkiness that rests full in the speculation of the stars. Ah, surely he had burst our mortal bars, into some wondrous region he had gone, to search for thee, divine Endymion. He was a poet, sure, a lover too, who stood on Latmus' top, what time there blew soft breezes from the myrtle vale below, and brought in faintness, solemn, sweet, and slow, a hymn from Dian's temple, while upswelling, the incense went to her own starry dwelling. But though her face was clear as infant's eyes, though she stood smiling o'er the sacrifice, the poet wept at her so piteous face, wept that such beauty should be desolate. So in fine wrath some golden sounds he won, and gave meek Cynthia her Endymion. Queen of the wide air, thou most lovely queen, of all the brightness that mine eyes have seen, as thou exceedest all things in thy shine, so every tale does this sweet tale of thine. Oh, for 3 words of honey that I might tell but one wonder of thy bridal night, where distant ships to thee seemed to show their keels. Phoebus awhile delayed his mighty wheels, and turned to smile upon my bashful eyes, ere he his unseen pomp would solemnize. The evening weather was so bright and clear that men of health were of unusual cheer, stepping like Homer at the trumpet's call, or young Apollo on the pedestal. And lovely women were as fair, as warm, as Venus looking sideways in alarm, and breezes ethereal and pure, and crept through half-closed lattices to cure the languid sick. It cooled their fevered sleep, and soothed them into slumbers full and deep. Soon they awoke clear-eyed, not burnt with thirsting, nor with hot fingers, nor with temples bursting, and springing up, they met the wondering sight of their dear friends, nigh foolish with delight, who feel their arms and breasts, and kiss and stare, and on their placid foreheads part the hair. Young men and maidens at each other's gaze, with hands held back and motionless, amazed to see the brightness in each other's eyes. And so they stood, filled with a sweet surprise, until their tongues were loosed in poesy. Therefore no lover did of anguish die, but these soft numbers, in that moment spoken, made silken ties that never may be broken. Cynthia, I cannot tell the greater blisses that followed thine and thy dear shepherd's kisses. Was there a poet born? But now no more. My wandering spirit must no further soar. Thank y'all for watching. I wish you love.